Hello everyone, welcome to today's our online class. Today we are going to discuss a new chapter. This is seventh chapter from our textbook. The name of the chapter is A Visit to Cambridge. Before we read, let's check a small paragraph is given there. This is the story of a meeting two extraordinary people, both of them disabled or differently abled. As we now say, Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest scientists of our time. He suffers from a form of paralysis that confines him to a wheelchair and allows him to speak only by punching buttons on a computer which speaks for him in a machine-like voice. Firdaus Kanka is a writer and journalist who lives and works in Mumbai. Kanka was born with brittle bones that tended to break easily when he was a child. Like Hawking, Kanka moves around in a wheelchair. The two great men exchange thoughts on what it means to live life in a wheelchair and on how the so-called normal people react to the disabled. So let's check the story. So it's a small conversation between Stephen Hawking and Firdaus Kanka. Cambridge was my metaphor for England, and it was strange that when I left it had become altogether something else because I had met Stephen Hawking there. Cambridge, he went to visit Cambridge to see Stephen Hawking. So let's check what was there. It was on a walking tour through Cambridge that the guide mentioned Stephen Hawking, poor man who is quite disabled now, though he is a worthy successor to Isaac Newton, whose chair he has at the university. So worthy successor means the person who is worthy to be after that person. And I started because I had quite forgotten that this most brilliant and completely paralyzed astrophysicist means a scholar of astrophysics, branch of physics dealing with stars, planets, etc. The author of A Brief History of Time, one of the biggest bestsellers ever lived here. So he forgot that one, that our Stephen Hawking was lived there. He was the author of A Brief History of Time. That is one of the biggest bestsellers ever. When the walking tour was done, I rushed to a phone booth and almost tearing the code so it could reach me outside. Phoned Stephen Hawking's house. There was his assistant on the line and I told him I had come in a wheelchair from India. Perhaps he thought I had propelled myself all the way to write about my travels in Britain. So he called to Stephen Hawking's home and said, I'm a person coming from India on wheelchair. So he said that, funnily he said that he may think that he came from there to here, he came only by wheelchair. So he said that I'm coming here to write my travels about Britain. I had to see Professor Hawking. Even 10 minutes would do, half an hour, he said, from 30 to 4. So he thought, he said to that assistant that I need even 10 minutes. I need even 10 minutes to talk. Only 10 minutes I'll need to talk. But they said, you got half an hour. Said 3:30 to 4 you can come and meet Stephen Hawking. And suddenly I felt weak all over. Growing up disabled, you get fed up with the people asking you to be brave, as if you have a courage account on which you are too lazy to draw a check. So if you are a disabled person, the people say you should be brave, but it's very difficult. Mostly sometimes very, very lazy. The only thing that makes you stronger is seeing somebody like you. So Always people ask you to brave and they will look at you always. But that will not give you courage or braveness. Then it will make you the only one thing that makes you stronger. What is that? That is seeing somebody like you. If you see somebody like you, then only you will get some stronger, achieving something huge. Then you know how much is possible and you reach out further than you ever thought you could. I haven't been brave, said his disembodied computer voice. The next afternoon I have had no choice. So next afternoon Fidaskanga visited our Stephen Hawking. Then when Stephen Hawking talked to him, haven't we been brave? He said he haven't been brave. Then he said he hadn't no choice. Surely I wanted to say living creatively with the reality of his disintegrating body was a choice. But I kept quiet because I felt guilty every time I spoke to him, forced him to respond. So he thought he was feeling guilty to make him talk. You remember, he can't talk. Stephen Hawking can't talk. He needed some machine to talk. So whenever he talking with him, Firdaus Kanga feel guilty that he was making him struggle to talk. There he was tapping at the little switch in his hand, trying to find the words on his computer with the only bit of movement left to him. His long, pale fingers, his fingers only moving. So with the help of his fingers, he was trying to find out the words. Every so often, his eyes would shut in frustrated exhaustion. And sitting opposite him, I could feel his anguish. The mind buoyant with thoughts that came out in frozen phrases and sentences, stiff and corpses. Buoyant means intensely active and vibrant. Buoyant. A lot of people seem to think that disabled people are chronically unhappy. I said, I know that is not true myself. Are you often laughing inside? About 3 minutes later, he responded, I find it amusing when people patronize me. So, here, saying that one, mostly people thinking that the disabled people's life are sad. And Kanga's asking, are you laughing inside? And do you find it annoying when someone like me comes and disturbs you in your work? The answer flashed, yes. Then he smiled his one-way smile, and I knew, without being sentimental or silly, that I was looking at one of the most beautiful men in the world. A first glimpse of him is shocking because he is like a still photograph, as if all those pictures of him in magazines and newspapers have turned three-dimensional. So first time when you are looking at him, you will feel shocked because he's looking like a picture. Same as you seen in the picture, like that only he was. Then you see the head twisted sideways in a slump. The torso shrunk. Torso means upper part of the body. Upper part of the body. Torso shrunk inside the pale blue shirt. The wasted legs. You look at his eyes, which can speak still, and they are saying something huge and urgent. It is hard to tell what. But you are shaken because you have seen something you never thought could be seen. That you have seen Stephen Hawking before you, like a lantern whose walls were worn so thin you glimpse only the light inside. Is the incandescence. Incandescence means inner glow or light of a man. Incandescence of man. So you can see a light in his eyes. There is an inner glow of light. The body, almost irrelevant, exists only like a case made of shadows. So that I now believe in eternal souls. Know that this is what each of us is. Everything else an accessory. So accessory means not essential but extra though decorative. So he says that one, the eternal beauty is not good. You should believe in yourself. You should believe that what you have inside. The eternal beauty is nothing. Eternal beauty is nothing. That he showed the famous scientist Stephen Hawking showed that one. He can't use his body. He can use only his fingers, but the mind he has it, the brain he has, that is working very hard. What do you think is the best thing about being disabled? I had asked him earlier. I don't think there is anything good about being disabled. I said, you to discover how much kindness there is in the world? Yes, he said. It was a disadvantage of his voice synthesizer that it could convey no inflection, no shades or tone, and I could not tell how enthusiastically he agreed with me. So there's a problem with his voice, that is, there will not be any feeling in his words. Whatever he say, it is mechanical voice only. So there will not any feeling. So we can understand whether he said it in angrily, whether he said it happily, do he have any brightness in his voice? Nothing we can understand from his voice. Every time I shifted, remember here I means that our Firdaus Kanga. Every time I shifted in my chair or turned my wrist to watch the time, I wanted to make every one of our 30 minutes count. I felt a huge relief and acceleration in the possibilities of my body. How little it mattered then that I would never walk or even stand. So every time he was looking into watch because he wanted to count the minutes. He got only 30 minutes time to talk with Stephen Hawking. So he thought that 30 minutes must be very brilliant time for him. So he should use it very brilliantly. So he felt relief that he has, even though he couldn't stand and walk, he had a lot of possibilities with his body. I told him how he had been an inspiration beyond Clich for me, and surely for others did that thought help him. Cliche. A cliche is a phrase or idea used so often that it loses its meaning. Cliche. No, he said, and I thought how foolish I was to ask. When your body is claustrophobic means very small and suffocating. Claustrophobia is abnormal fear of being in an enclosed space. So claustrophobic room, body is a claustrophobic room and the walls are growing narrower day by day. It doesn't do much good to know that there are people outside smiling with admiration to see you breathing still. Is there any advice you can give disabled people? Something that might help make life better? They should concentrate on what they are good at. I think things like the disabled Olympics are a waste of time. So, according to in his opinion, whose opinion? Or Stephen Hawking's opinion, the Olympics for disabled people are waste of time. I know what you mean. I remembered the years I had spent trying to play a Spanish guitar considerably larger than I was, and how gleefully I had unstringed it one night. Gleefully means very happily. Unstringed it one night. The half hour was up. I think I have annoyed you enough, I said, grinning. Thank you for. Stay, I waited. Have some tea. I can show you the garden. So, remember, when Stephen Hawking said the Olympics for the disabled was waste of time, what did he mean by that? He mean that sometimes it will make them, sometimes if they are disabled people have good in something and they wanted to create their own ideas in that. Sometimes if they are trying to do something Look here, Firdaus Kanga, he wanted to learn Spanish guitar. He tried a lot, but finally he couldn't do that one. Then very happily he unstringed that one night. He unstringed that one. That means he stopped playing that one. He understood he can't do that one. Then the time was end there, 30 minutes end there. Then he said, thank you for spending time. Then that time Stephen Hawking said, no, you wait some time, have some tea, and I can show you the garden. And he gave him more time. The garden was as big as a park. But Stephen Hawking covered every inch, rumbling along in his motorized wheelchair while I dodged to keep out of the way. We couldn't talk very much. The sun made him silent, the letters on his screen disappearing in the glare. So the park was very big there. It is in his house itself. They are moving on that. An hour later, we were ready to leave. I didn't know what to do. I could not kiss him or cry. I touched his shoulder and wheeled out into the summer evening. I looked back and I knew he was waving, though he wasn't. He can't move his fingers. He can't move his hands so that he cannot wave. Watching him, an embodiment of my bravest self. The one I was moving towards, the one I had believed in for so many years. Alone, I knew that my journey was over for now. So, embodiment means represent an image. Embodiment means represent an image. So here Firdaus Kanga, it was taken from Heaven on Wheels. Firdaus Kanga also a disabled person. He got a chance to visit our Stephen Hawking, and that made some change. So he learned some new things from him. He got half an hour, but they talked 1 hour time. They spent 1 hour time with our Stephen Hawking. So which made him some change. So I hope you all understood the story. If you have any doubts about it, you can ask it in the comment box. So a visit to Cambridge is a small article which had a connection between our Firdaus Kanga and Stephen Hawking, which tell you that how the life of disabled people, how they feel when you are showing some sympathy towards them. What do they feel inside them, and what are the things they wanted to do, how to get their stronger strength. These all things we have learned in this chapter. So here we are winding up our chapter. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.